Hey there everyone, welcome to Ask Me Monday. I'm Vicki Howell and I am so happy to be here with you starting our week out creatively together. Every week, most Mondays at noon central, we get together, we learn a quickie project or tutorial or technique. We always do a tutorial, technique, project, and then the goal is to just connect on the community boards and just sort of inspire each other with whatever we're making. I encourage you to use the comment section as a place to connect. If you see somebody that's in your hood, maybe give them a shout out. If you have a pattern or a recipe or, anything really that is inspiring for people to create, please post it. I love seeing that stuff. I also love seeing stuff that you have made from past Ask Me Monday episodes. We've got over 200 of them now over the past going on 6 years. If you want to binge any of the old episodes, you can go to my website, vickihowell.com, click on videos, and you'll see a drop down for Ask Me Monday. Or if you're watching this on Facebook, you can just go to my videos section and there is a playlist. All right, so we always start out the episode telling each other what we've been making over the weekend, and it's not like, this isn't a competition. It's not how much you did. It's just if you were able to take a couple stitches, draw a doodle, whatever it is. And also where you're watching from. But then today I'd like to also add, what are you watching or listening to while you're making? I just binged the latest season of Atypical on Netflix. If you haven't checked it out, it's such a great relationship piece. It gets better every season. It's kind of a feel-good dramedy, I guess. It's really, really good. So I just finished that. I've been listening to a lot of LP lately. LP, the artist, not LP, the records. So that's been really good. And also, I just discovered a recording from 2012. And now I'm going to forget who it's by, so I'll post it in the comment section. It's a video performance cover of Michael Jackson's Bad, but completely reimagined to be more Americana and more Americana style, rather. And it is so good, and I'm completely blanking on the artist. It's a duet. It's a man and a woman, but I will post that. That has really been sort of like bringing me joy this week while I have been making. So today, and I am coming at you from the Yarnier Studios in Buda, Texas. So I see that we've got some East Coasters. Hi, Debbie. We've got some West Coasters. Hi, Chris. Hi, Rosa. It is so hot here in Texas, although not as hot in Austin as it normally is this time. So I guess take what we can get, but man, it's really, really hard to get motivated to do anything. But staying indoors where there's air conditioning and making is a great way to beat the heat. And it is July, it's the last week in July. And so I wanted to revisit something that I do almost every year with a Christmas in July project. That was hard for me to get out. Don't know why. Guess because it's Monday. So we're going to be working on something today that is great for Christmas, but honestly, it's really good for general winter or even Earth Day. What is that, you ask? Well, that is wine cork trees. So these are a really adorable way to use up your scraps of, I'm using a bulky weight yarn, so about the number 5 on the label. And it doesn't take much, as you can see. It's really quickly. In fact, I'm going to make an entire one today with you today instead of my usual step outs. And they can be made into, they can go right back into the wine bottle. I mean, how cute is it to show up with a little rosé with a rosy tree on it? Or they can be, you can add a loop at the top and they can be little ornaments that you can then tie onto your holiday gifts if you want. Give them to everyone you know. You could hot glue a magnet on the back and they could be magnets. Or it would be really cute to have a whole little village of scrappy little trees. So I have put at vickihowell.com the pattern for 3 different versions. The stockinette, this little welted version, and the seed stitch version. And you can see the seed stitch version has a little loop so you can make it an ornament. I don't have that attached because we're going to be talking about that later. What I'm going to show you how to do today though is the plain stockinette one, and here is why. Because these are really great to decorate. When you have this sort of like bed of stockinette stitch, you can do all kinds of fun things. You can use rickrack on them, or vintage beads, or sequin, or whatever. So I'm going to get you started on this one, but all three of them really have the same general construction. So you'll get an idea, you'll get the gist, and then you'll just adjust to the stitch patterns. And again, that's at vickyhowell.com. All of the knitting needles I'll be using today are brought to you by our sponsor, Knitter's Pride, Knit Pro if you're out of North America. And you can also go to vickyhowell.com and click through to see the needles that we're using today. So let's talk. We're talking about needles. We might as well talk about supplies for this project. So needles, I'm going to be using size 9, US 9, so 5.5 millimeter double pointed needles. This is not that size, this is that size, but I'm using Smart Sticks. This is Knitter's Pride. It's their needles that have rulers right on them. So they're great. It sort of like minimizes the amount of tools that you need. So I will be using those. You need some form of bulky yarn, not super bulky, but bulky that you can work using a size 9 needle. You want it to be tight so that it, doesn't get all sort of like drapey. You want it to have a little bit of a stiffness so that it stands out like a tree. So it can be anything. This is, I believe, Brooklyn Tweed Query. That's what I made one out of. This is just Peyton's classic wool roving, which you can get at, your local craft store. So it doesn't have to be anything fancy. I do love the query or anything that has a little tweed in it because I just think it looks more like something that you'd find in nature. But clearly, since I also made a pink tree, I don't only care about nature. I like a little kitsch, I like a little cuteness. So you'll just need some scrap yarn of that. So we've got our needles, we've got our yarn. Then of course you'll need wine corks. If you do not have a ginormous collection like I do at my house, you can actually buy unused ones at your local craft store. They come in bags. So you'll just need wine corks. And then you will need a tapestry needle. I am kind of partial to these Knitter's Pride versions that are from the Mindful collection. And since we're using a bigger yarn, these are great because they've got a really large hole. And then lastly, this is completely optional. Some little sequins. I have these snowflakes that I was thinking about using, but you could just use plain ones. You could use colors for different ornaments, or you could even use beads. Big enough that you can hot glue, unless you plan on hand sewing tiny seed beads, and you do you. I bow to you if you're going to get that detailed. But just something, any kind of bead. And then really any other trimmings that you want. And you can add, if you're going to add a loop, you can just use the yarn that you're already using, or you could use thread, or you could use twine. Again, just play with these, have fun. I envision all kinds of forests of completely different trees out there on the interwebs, and I can't wait to see it. All right, so let us get started. I'm going to flip the camera around, which is never pretty, and I think I'm going to bring in a little more light. And we are going to make this guy right here together. So if you happen to have some size 9 DPNs laying around and some scrap yarn, you could knit along with me, or come back and do it after on the replay. All right, I'm going to flip you around. Oh, and if you have any questions, and I don't see them because the camera is a little bit different in placement, I don't always see them, post them in the comment section, and I will come back and answer them after the live feed. All right, so I am using 3 double pointed needles. I don't feel like you really need the full set of 5. 3 plus the one I'm knitting with, rather. And for this tree, bring this little guy in, we are going to cast on 14 stitches. So I have done that preemptively right here. And again, this pattern can be found at vickyhowell.com. And before I get the questions, There is not a crochet tutorial today, but I do have a crochet ornament that's this size that would work over a cork as well, that I'm going to try and track down and put in the notes, and just sort of let you know how you can alter it. But you could also just substitute single crochets for knit stitches and follow the same sort of decreasing, and it would totally work. Okay, so I've cast on my 14 stitches. I've divided them between my smart sticks. I am now going to join, but I am joining, the first row is a purl, so I'm joining with a purl. And then we're going to purl around. And you're working in such a small space that it's really nice to have these shorter needles. These are, I believe these are the 5-inch smart sticks. It could get a little cumbersome if you had long ones, but it absolutely will work. And if you prefer the magic loop method with a long circular, that would be fine too. I haven't tested it, but I feel pretty confident that that would be fine too. And Knitter's Pride has oodles of choices there too, including smart sticks. Okay, so the first round is purled. Oops, this is roving yarn, so it rips. Let me be your cautionary tale. Okay, so from here, we're just going to knit. We're going to revert to knitting. So what I just showed you is this purl row, and what that did is that just gave it a little body, a little stiffness, and also prevents it from curling at the bottom. However, a curly bottom tree could be adorable too. So if you loathe the purling in the round, I don't see any reason why you couldn't just adapt. You might have to do a couple extra rows just to compensate for the curling, but that shouldn't matter. All right, so we're just knitting. And I am an English knitter, so I throw. But if you are a continental knitter or a combination knitter, you do you. Whatever gets the job done is good for me. So right now we're creating just the base of the foliage part of the tree. And if you know anybody that you think might be interested in learning how to make wine coordinate trees, if you would share this video, I would really appreciate it. That really helps the algorithm pick it up. Okay, so that was one. Let's do 2 more. And again, the pattern is at VickiHowell.com. And this video will also be embedded there too, so you will be able to easily find it. If you just cannot get on board with Christmassy stuff now in July, just bookmark this and you can revisit it again in November or whenever it works for you. And I think that this would be really cute, as I mentioned at the top, for Earth Day as well, if you wanted to do little Earth Day gifts, especially in this, nice piney green. Be very sweet. If you have any park ranger friends that you wanted to give gifts to, that would be cute. These are really fun teacher gifts in addition to, whatever gift card or whatever you're going to be giving. If you wanted to do a little ornament, or probably isn't appropriate to give alcohol to a teacher, although they deserve it. But you could do a little sparkling cider or something like that with a little wine cork topper. Be super cute. Okay, so now we are on our third round, or excuse me, our third round of knitting, but it's actually our 4th round total. And we need 1 more. So this is rows 2 through 5 that we've been working now since we've been purling. And again, if you have any questions, this is Ask Me Monday after all. Please post the comments in the comment section and I will get back to them if I don't see it flying across the screen. I am trying, as I'm knitting, to stop looking at my knitting and look at the camera, but I could absolutely miss something. Okay, so this is round 5 that we're doing. And if you need a little refresher, I know I'm going kind of fast here on how to work the knit stitch, I have an entire playlist that I will link to from this post after I'm done shooting. a Get Schooled playlist that refreshes all of the basics. Okay, so now it is time for our first decrease row. So we've created this part, the body of it. This is the part that needs to go over the cork. Everything else is all shaping. So I just saw a comment fly through from Valerie saying that floppy edges would be an adorable witch hat. Love it. Mean it. Yes, I absolutely agree. Okay, so from here we are going to knit 2 together. So we insert our needle through both stitches, knit them together as if they were one stitch, and that decreases a stitch. So knit 2 together, knit 3. We're going to do that sequence twice. So one more time. Knit 2 together, knit 1, 2, 3. And now we're going to end this round by knitting 2 together again, but this time there's just 2 stitches to knit. So now you'll be down to 11 stitches. We started at 14. Okay, so now we have started the shaping. You can kind of see it a little bit, but it'll become more obvious in a minute. Okay, from here we're just going to do rows 7 through 8. So two rounds of plain knitting again. So that's just knit every stitch when we're knitting in the round, because when you're knitting on the round, you don't ever work on the wrong side of the fabric. So unlike when you're working back and forth, stockinette stitch is knit 1 round, purl 1, or knit 1 row rather, purl 1 row. You don't have to purl at all for stockinette stitch when you're working in the round. Okay, so this is 1. And you could play a little bit here. If you wanted a taller tree, these in-between decrease rows, these plain rounds rather, are a great place to elongate your tree. I did that with the pink one. You can't see and I'm out of hands, but just because I wanted it to sit, I wanted to see less trunk. So just play around with it. And, you know, different yarns, the category of 5 yarns or bulky it's a little subjective, so you may need to adjust here and there. Okay, you can see, I'm going to bring this closer so you can see our decreases, and you can already really see the conical shape that's happening. Okay, so we've worked our 2 rounds and now we're ready for another decrease round. So we are going to work our knit 2 together, knit 2, and we're going to do that twice. And it's so good to see some yarn yayers here. Hi, Lindsay. And Chris and Deborah. Knit 2, knit 1, 2. Okay, and then we're at our last 3 stitches. We're going to knit 2 together again, and then knit 1. And our decrease row is done, and we are now down to 8 stitches. So just for reference, you can sort of see where we're at in our progress. And since I mentioned it, you'll notice here that I might have added another round here and here. And that just means that there's more coverage on the cork. It makes it look like a slightly different tree. That one also has welts, but you can find that pattern at VickiHowell.com. Okay, so now we're going to do a couple more plain rounds. And that's really just to give you fabric and to not make your tree so short that it's more of a tiny wee topiary, which might also be cute too, actually. And again, if you like and share this video, it really helps. It really helps viewers be able to see it, which makes me be able to produce more of these. So I really appreciate it. Okay, so that was 1, and it goes faster and faster the further along that you progress because there's less and less stitches. And As you can see, these are so quick. You could have a whole forest of trees made easily by Christmas if you wanted to. Okay, so we're coming around to the end, and now we are ready for our last decreases. So the last 2 rounds are both decrease rounds. So that means that we're going to heavily decrease. We want the angle to really start getting very pointy. So we're going to knit 2 together. Twice. Now, you'll notice that I knit 2 together and now I only have 1 stitch on this double pointed needle. This is where it can get a little fussy. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to just slip, I'm going to borrow a stitch from the next needle, slide it on down so I can knit together the next 2. So I'm going to knit those 2 together, and then I'm going to move on to the next 2. I have to borrow a stitch again. Knit those 2 together, and now I have my final 2 stitches. I'm going to set these down so that they don't fall out, because it gets a little, at the end it gets a little precarious because you don't have a lot of stitches for stability to hold the needles, so a table can be your friend. I'll make sure that you see it. Okay, so now we are down to 4 stitches. So what we want to do, and at this point, you're going to probably find it easier to start ditching double pointed needles. So we want to knit 2 together, twice, and this requires some more shuffling of stitches. We got to borrow one from over here. I'm just going to set down all of these now. Knit 2 together twice, and then you'll only have 2 stitches left. So what I'm going to do is pass this 1 stitch over the next, so you're essentially binding off. And then I thought that I had scissors, but I do not, but this is a roving yarn, so that's easy. So then you just fasten off. Now, if you wanted to leave this as a loop, I'd recommend just wrapping around and tying a knot, and you have it right there. If you want to weave it in, pull that through, and then you'll just poke through. You'd grab a tapestry needle, poke through, and then you can flip it inside out and weave in the ends. Grab one of our corks. Okay, so let's talk assembly. So that's all there is to that. So you have a couple choices here. If you are making a topper, you don't have to glue it on if you have a reason that, I don't think I mentioned having an optional glue gun at the beginning of this, so that is something to consider. If you're making an ornament where it has to hang, you have to, there's no choice really, you have to use a glue gun. But if you're just going to use it as a wine topper, like if you're bringing it to an event or a party, you don't have to. But you just add a little glue. I probably should have done some on the side too, but add a little glue to that. Then if you want to get creative, you can start playing with your sequin. I have these, I don't even know where I got them. Oh, I do. There was a great store called Stitch Lab here in Austin that shut a few years back, and they were clearing out all of their stuff, so I loaded up on sequin. But I think that would be pretty cute, a little gold situation. So I'm going to take my glue gun, so I don't burn myself, I have a couple of little tools. You can find these. These are by my friend Kathy and Steve that for plaid, but a couple of little silicone tools that I had a pointy stick. I don't know what I did with it, but that's a little easier to negotiate when it comes to glue. And then I would just stick it on. And then from here, we would just have fun with it. You can do all kinds of little ornaments. I might do some colors, maybe little polka dots or some rickrack or really whatever, just have fun with it. So cute. Okay, so that's really it. I just want to show you again, there's a couple of other options at VickiHowell.com. This one has welts. So the only thing that's different in this pattern really is that there are a few pearl rounds in addition to, or a couple pearl rounds in addition to the ones at the beginning. Really cute. And then I also have a seed stitch one. I wanted to show you this one. This, because of the multiples of 4 needed for seed stitch, or 2 rather, but I needed to add more stitches. So this has actually 16 instead of 20, and you can see that makes it a little bit larger, more like a bell. So that makes it a little bit tougher for attaching to or getting to fit on the actual cork. So what I recommend doing is just stuffing it with some leftover yarn, and then you can glue it from there. You'll still be able to glue it on the sides once that's in, and it'll be super cute. So you've got 3 choices: a stockinette, welt, or seed stitch. Cute little cork trees. All right, I'm gonna flip around again. Oh, there's my ceiling. All right, that's really it. So I have actually several Christmas in July, or just Christmas. These are all, I almost always use scraps for these projects. I have those available on my website as well, at VickiHowell.com. And also, we are going to be going into pre-sale as of tomorrow. If you're watching this on Monday the 26th, tomorrow on the 27th, at yarnyay.com, we are going to be launching pre-sale for our Advent calendars. We're doing it a weekly calendar this year, instead of daily. So you'll get this like big box with 4 other containers in it, and each week there'll be a full hank of yarn and a bunch of, some goodies, some notions, and part of a pattern to make this really cool sort of winter wrapper. It's kind of a super scarf, like an extra wide, gushy scarf. It features 4 different independent yarn companies, some one-woman dye houses, and then a bunch of other small businesses. It's going to be really fun, and I'm really looking forward to being able to deliver those to you. So pre-sale for those, it'll be a limited amount. We'll go live tomorrow at yarnyay.com. Other than that, that's all we got today. So thank you so much for starting your week creatively with me. Please come back on Mondays for more creative ideas. And if you would like to see a tutorial on Ask Me Monday, please put it in the comment section. All right, take some time to be creative, stay healthy, stay smart, people. Have a great rest of your week.